What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jonathan with the Rideshare panel, and I'm making this video today because I've been getting a lot of questions about taxes with Lyft and Uber. I've got another video up with a lot of great tips on how to do your taxes, but today I want to focus on one specific question because there's a lot of people wondering if you even have to pay taxes for Lyft or Uber. And the gray area comes because of the way that Lyft and Uber give out their 1099s, and it's a little bit different than a lot of companies. So as a driver, you're an independent contractor, and as an independent contractor, that means you're required to pay self-employment taxes if you make more than $400 a year. So essentially, you are required to pay taxes if you've driven basically at all. But the way that Lyft and Uber give out their 1099Ks creates a little bit of a gray area. And so they don't actually send you a 1099K or send the IRS a 1099K unless you've made greater than $20,000 in a given year. And I think there's also another caveat: if you've given more than 200 rides, they will also send that out, but it adds up to be a similar number. So usually the benchmark to go off of is $20,000 of earnings. And so there's definitely a little bit of a gray area here, and some people are wondering if a 1099K is not sent out, do I still have to pay taxes? And the simple answer to that is yes, you are still required by law to pay taxes, but some drivers still choose not to. And this is definitely a shady area. It's not something that I recommend, and this video is not tax advice, but here's the reasoning. So if Lyft and Uber aren't sending out a 1099K, that means that de facto the IRS does not have a record of how much money you made that year. You are still required to pay those taxes, but if you don't pay those taxes, will the IRS notice? That's not a question that you can really answer directly. The IRS won't have record of this, but if they choose to audit you, or if they choose to audit Lyft or Uber and then see how much they've been paying individual drivers, they will be able to see that you have been receiving income from them, and in that case you will be required to pay back taxes. So if you do not file taxes with Lyft or Uber, or you file and you underpay, the IRS can still audit you up to 6 years into the future. And if you are audited and you haven't paid taxes, then all of a sudden you're charged the amount that you were supposed to pay plus interest. That interest is the federal short-term rate plus 3%. That interest rate compounds daily, so after a few years this is really going to start to add up. And on top of that interest, you're also going to have to pay a late filing penalty, which caps out at a maximum of 25%. So let's say that you owed $1,000 and don't pay for 5 years. All of a sudden your payment's going to add up to $534 on top of that $1,000 payment that you owed. So waiting 5 years is going to increase your tax payment by about 50%. Not to mention you could face fraudulent charges or even criminal charges for not paying taxes. So as an independent contractor, you are a business owner. The onus is on you to make these kind of decisions. Most people obviously make the safe choice and decide to go ahead and pay taxes. As a Lyft or Uber driver, if you're making under $20,000 a year, your tax burden is going to be a few $1,000s, but it might be worth the peace of mind just to pay that and to go ahead and move forward. You're paying 25 to 30%, maybe a different amount depending on your tax bracket on that money made, but you also get a huge amount of expenses that you get to write off based on the standard deduction mileage rate. And at the end of the day, your taxes might actually not be as much as you expect them to be. So I recommend watching my other videos, seeing how much you're gonna likely have to pay in taxes, and then addressing that number before you make any decisions, because like I said before, your expenses are very high as a driver, so the amount that you're actually gonna end up owing might be a lot less than you expected. So go ahead and look at those numbers and then kind of take a more balanced approach to assessing how much you owe and how you'd like to pay this. If you're in a position where you feel like you won't be able to pay that full amount, you can always reach out to the IRS and ask for installment payments, and that way you can kind of chunk out the amount that you owe and pay it over a larger period of time in a payment method. This is definitely easier for people that are in a crunch and might be a better solution to kind of just ignoring the problem and not paying taxes, which could end up putting you in a lot more trouble down the road. So I hope this video helped. Make sure you subscribe down below because I'm going to be dropping tons of great rideshare news for drivers and side hustles that you can do to make more money as an independent contractor.